Good afternoon. My name is Eureka Williams, and I'm an Associate Professor of English at the Metro campus, and I'm also a co-advisor for the African American Student Association. And we'd like to welcome you all to Afternoons of African American Awareness 2023. We're really excited about this series because we are back on campus. After 2 years of having Zoom sessions, we have finally returned to EDC campuses, so we're just excited to have you all. So not all of you physically on campus, but we're also on Zoom. So we have people who are on Zoom, so you want to say hello to them and welcome them to this conversation. We're also excited about today's dynamic speaker. I've had the opportunity to engage with him in the fall, and he's just an electric young man. So we're happy that he accepted our invitation. To introduce our speaker today, we have Elizabeth Llewellyn, who is a member of our African American Student Association. And once she finishes, Mr. Williams will come up and talk, and then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. Also, we have refreshments over in the back, and sign-in sheets are on the side of the room for people to sign in for courses they can do. I just want to thank you all for coming. Enjoy today. Aaron Woodhill has over 10 years as a business strategist with a multi-private manager working in learning training and there's exceptional background and process in food, hospital, operational engineering, and the development. Several ways to achieve utilize the skills and meet a better business plan. Experience human capital and attachment to the industry of working in a higher education industry. Skills in nonprofit organization, social sales, conflict resolution, and team building. Structural and social service professional with a strong community and social services professional with a master's degree focused in organizational development, change management from Penn State University. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, that was nice and strong. It's a Wet and Wild Wednesday, but I'm glad that you all are here today. I want to thank Dr. Eureka Williams for this invitation, and Brother Mike back there, and Brother Dwayne on the ones and twos, handling the camera work and everything. This is a wonderful opportunity for myself and for you, and I just want to spend some time engaging with you all. Also, for those of you who are online and joined in, welcome. We just want to talk a little bit. We have a nice intimate crowd here, which I like. If you know, whether it's 1,000 or whether it's 10, we can make it work, right? That's what we do. We make it work. And so it's my pleasure to be here today. Thank you again for the opportunity. I'm going to, if we can get the slides up, we'll jump right into the presentation here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself here in the beginning, and we'll talk a little bit about my journey. And we'll set from talking about my journey to then sharing some things that maybe you need to experience or you are experiencing, and how we can give you some tips to kind of navigate these waters called life as an African American student. Also looking back at history. Should I just not use the mic or?
Probably.
No.
It's going in and out.
It is.
Let's try to use it.
Okay. All right, we'll make it work. So, once again, my name is Aaron Wiggle, Managing Director of New Youth. This is some of the work that we're doing now. And Richard from Pittsburgh, born and raised, 412 Steel City. It's a very traditional East Coast town, but there's no other place like it on earth. I promise you that. In the hills of Appalachia, the Appalachian Mountains. This is a picture of my family. This is one of the pictures of all of my family. We all pretty much grew up together with us and our spouses. This is a picture of my wife and I in Egypt. We have a nice tradition where every year we don't, for our anniversary, we don't buy each other gifts. We take a trip somewhere in the world, and while we are abroad somewhere, we do two things. We pick a piece of art there to commemorate our trip, and we put it in our home when we get back. And the other thing that we do is we plan the next trip. So I asked my wife, where do you want to go next? And then, I don't know, what do you think? We go back and forth about what our next trip will be. So we take a couple trips a year. We love to travel the world and see different places. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I have several coworkers who used to ask me, well, how come you travel abroad so much? And I'm going to weave a little bit of our African-American experience within this presentation, okay? My coworkers used to ask me, why do you travel abroad so much? And they said, there's great places in America. I've been everywhere in America, most places. And they said, well, why do you, but I don't understand. I said, you know what? The only time I get all the benefits of being an American is when I'm not in America. When I'm abroad, I'm American. When I'm in America, I'm African American. And that comes with a stigma. And then I'm an African American male, and that comes with a whole other stigma, right? That's when you walk into an elevator and people say, I'll wait for the next one. That's when you walk down the street and you hear the doors click. Or you say good morning and people look the other way, right? That's in America. When I go abroad, I have experiences where I'm in Italy and I'm walking down the street and they say buongiorno, and I say buongiorno, right? Because there I'm American. I'm not African American. And so it was hard for me to explain to them because they don't have that plight. But they definitely understood what I was saying once we got into the discussion. And so we love to travel abroad and experience different lands. You get to the next slide. Not working? Should I do the throat thing?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, even next we're going to college. Here we go. I thought so. So I went to school, started off at what we call at home CACAC, CCAC, which is Community College of Allegheny County. So I started out right here where you all are. And I did that for about 1.5 years. And I stopped and I started working. And I had a very pivotal conversation. Somebody say pivotal conversation. In your life, you're going to have many pivotal conversations. And they're going to happen randomly. It'll be on a rainy Wednesday afternoon where you have a pivotal conversation. And it won't make sense in the moment, but it will make sense 10 years later, right? I had a pivotal conversation with a coworker of mine. I was working for a temp agency downtown Pittsburgh, and we were filing and doing different things. And she was married, had a couple kids. She went back to school, and I was helping her with her homework at the office. And I'm like, oh, what you need to do is write this. And she said, Aaron, you seem to get this, like, you understand this, but how come you're not in school? And I said, school, it's just a debt trap. I thought school was a debt trap. And in many ways in America, school is a debt trap, right? But it also is, how do you utilize it, right? And so I told her, no, it's a debt trap. I don't want to do that. I'll figure it out. And she said, Aaron, let me tell you something. Every morning I get up, I feed my kids. After I feed my kids, I take them to school. After I take them to school, I come to work, right? And then I pick them up from school. I help them with their homework. I feed them again, take care of my husband, feed him too, right? And then I sit down for a minute. I have to do homework, right? And then I go to bed about 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and I get up the next day and got to do it all over again. And she said this to me, why you have no one else to worry about? Why you have nothing else to do? Why not finish your degree? That was a pivotal conversation. Do you know, I left that day, I went, signed up for school, I didn't tell a soul. Not my best friend, not my girlfriend. Didn't tell a soul. Signed up for school, and I didn't tell my parents until I had to fill out the FAFSA forms. And then and I didn't tell them for a reason, because I knew they were going to say, how you going to pay for it? First thing my dad said, how you going to pay for it? And I said, Dad, there's too many kids going to college around America that can't pay for it, that are there, for me not to even try. And he didn't stop me. I'm surprised he didn't. He didn't stop me. I signed up. He gave me the W-2 information, and I went on to get my degree in finance from Cal U. While I was there, I was an Enroader. For all those Enroads alums out there, I was in Enroads, which is a paid internship program for minority students. If you do not know about Enroads, you need to look it up. If you are from an underserved community, doesn't matter if you're Black or Asian or Latino or whatever, you can apply to Enroads, and as long as you have a major which is business related or something, they will help you to find paid internships around the country. And so I did Enroads and had a wonderful internship experience at PNC Bank for a few years. So that was a segue. While I was at PNC, while I was at PNC and while I was interning with Enroads, we had an Enroads boat ride. And I met one of the executives at Highmark, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield back home. And while I was there, he was a Black exec, and I went and met him. His name was Tal Alexander. I said, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Just told him about where I was coming from. And he said, okay, well, let's stay connected. So what happened was, the year I was to graduate, PNC cut 3,000 jobs, and through attrition, my position was eliminated. And so I was about 4 weeks from college. 4 weeks from graduating, I get an email from PNC saying we no longer can offer you the position that I was already guaranteed, because I went through a management training program. And so I was devastated. I thought I did all the right things. What happens when you do the right things and get the wrong results? You keep moving. Keep moving. Because the ingredients of what was catastrophe, you can make something new with. You didn't lose everything. You lost that, right? And so I went, talked to him. He said, I shot him an email. I said, you may remember me from the boat ride a month ago. Aaron Brigham, I was at PNC. I did this. He got back to me and said, of course I remember you. I heard about the position. Contact so-and-so downstairs in the office. We already got a role for you. But I reached out, right? I went into a job. I was a customer service rep at Highmark, and I absolutely hated it. I want to tell you that the jobs you hate prepare you for the jobs you love. Okay? Sometimes you got to do the job you hate. And in that, you get the ingredients for the job you love. Don't be so quick to walk away because this job just don't make no sense. Because sometimes you pick up transferable skills in the job you hate that will give you a rigor for the job you love. I learned how to handle myself on the phone. I learned how to be punctual. I learned how to, the corporate structure of things, how to follow protocol. In the job I hated, I learned excellent communication skills, excellent de-escalation skills. Because I was in a Medicare Part D unit, which is the drug prescription of Medicare. It's a senior unit, and they had just issued Medicare Part B. This was 2006, and nobody had any answers. And senior citizens are calling. We know they live off of pills, and they're drunk. They can't get their medicine. So they're calling their insurance saying, why can't I pick up the pills that I need every single day? And we didn't have answers. So it was extremely frustrating. We had people who were breaking out in hives. We had people who were having nervous breakdowns because we were working 12, 13 hours a day, and we still didn't have answers. And so it's a hard conversation to have, but I was able to figure out how to talk to people, how to de-escalate, and how to problem solve all in a 30-minute call while making quality assurance happen, right? And so I hated the job though, and what really got to me was I had an individual who came, remember I got my degree in finance, and a guy who was a financial analyst who came to me and said, I went to him rather and said, hey, I know you're in the finance department. I have my degree in finance. I will stay late, come early, whatever you need. I just want to keep my skills sharp. I'll help you out whatever way. And so he put a word in his director's ear. Long story short, they said, we're going to open this position for you. I took it to the director. They had a policy that you had to be in position 18 months in order to get out, right? And so I was only there about 6 months. So the director would not even meet with me. She told me there's no fast tracks here. And it took me 20 years to get where I am. You're not going to just come in. And I said, well, I don't know what your story has to do with my story, but our story ain't the same story, right? And so needless to say, I was demoralized. 6 months later, they opened the position again. He told me, Aaron, we're opening this position just for you for 1 week. And if you don't get your paperwork together, we can't move forward. I went in, I talked to her again. She wouldn't meet me, Aaron. I told you, no, it's 18 months. We're only 12 months in. You can't bid on the position. And it's something to have opportunity taken away from you. It's one thing if I went for the job and didn't get it. It's another thing when you won't even let me go for it. To take the opportunity, I was demoralized. Couldn't get out of bed. Completely disgruntled. And so, needless to say, we came to an agreement for me to leave. That's a nice way to say that. We came to an agreement for me to leave, and they came in and said, either we can let you go, or you can walk away. I said, will you take away unemployment if I walk away? He said, no. I said, okay, well, I got to sign. I got out of here. I left there, went to multiple life companies. This is what I'm saying about using the ingredients of what you didn't do well, or didn't like, to do what you do like. Got into life insurance, begin to sell life insurance policies, was rookie of the year, #1 seller in the company, was on pace to $1 Million Roundtable, which is huge in that industry. And I'm not talking about in a matter of 9 months, 7 months straight, employee of the month. I was kicking butt and taking names, writing 6 policies a week. And I set up a nice strategy where I had a couple of niche target markets, and they were feeding each other. And so my boss was like, how in the world are you getting people to sign up in this rapid pace? And I said, don't worry about that. I got that. You teach me the product, I'll teach you. And so I taught a little bit of street savvy, and we got through that. Ended up doing that for about a year, and the recession hit. This is 2008. And let me know where I am on time. Give me a flag or something. Left there, went to the Boy Scouts of America as the district executive, oversaw about 4,000 volunteers. I would be in the morning, I would be with 3rd graders talking about camps and rallies, right? In the afternoon, I would be with bank presidents talking about fundraising and other things. So that was a great run for about 3 years. And the Boy Scouts do something very interesting. About year 3, they pull you in and they say, the Boy Scouts is a lifestyle. And so is this something you can commit to for life, or is this something that's a job? And if you can't see yourself doing this for 10 more years, then you should probably just leave. And so I said, this is definitely just a job. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not going to care. Not like, we're not doing all that, right? They would be at the campsite, I would be in the car, knocked out. Right? We're not doing all that. I'm from the city, okay? And so, needless to say, we had that conversation, and I negotiated a 6-month severance, and I had to take the leap of faith. I could have stayed, I could have lied and said, oh no, I'm going to stay, and then I took the leap of faith. I'll take the severance and walk away. Don't you know, I was driving down the highway, and literally I saw a billboard that had Penn State and said, we're hiring. I go on the website and apply for a job. Let me tell you how this works, right? I applied for the job. It was a finance position. I have the interview, first interview for the role, right? And they call me in for a second interview. They call me in for a third interview. Then they say, well, send us your references. And when I sent them the references, they called, right? So I called one of my good, a good friend of the family who is also a mentor of mine. And I said, hey, I'm going for a role at Penn State. And he said, Penn State? He said, I'm on the board at Penn State. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, one for this role. He said, don't even worry about it. So long story short, the woman who was one of the women who were on the search committee, she worked for this gentleman 20 years ago at a bank. He was the president. She was one of the workers there. And she had very fond memories of him. And she said, if you are in camp with him, then you're good people. And so needless to say, I got the job and went on an 8-year run at Penn State. During there, that time, I was actually a revitalization effort. They had a very recalcitrant relationship with the community, very turbulent, and it was, Penn State is, most higher ed is kind of elitist, okay? So there were high schools. There was a high school across the street that could have been a light year away, and based on opportunity. And so what we did was build a bridge. I went in, had a meeting with all the faculty and staff. They asked me to lead this revitalization effort. We built a committee to do it. And the first question I asked was, if our doors close tomorrow, would the community miss us? Unanimously, about 70 individuals, faculty and staff, said yes. They said no. The community would not miss us if we close our doors. Now this is Penn State, billion-dollar institution, global brand, globally recognized. There's no reason why the community wouldn't miss you. Then you didn't do your part. Second question I asked, how many times do you look in the mirror before you leave the house? They said, somebody said 2, somebody said 7, somebody said 15, someone said about 25, somebody said about 30. I said, yeah, you're right, about 30, right? Wake up, look in the mirror, get outside, look in the mirror, brush your teeth, look in the mirror, right? You look in the mirror several times when you look in the house. And so what I told them was, said, when's the last time the campus looked in the mirror? We say everything in the community is not doing, but when's the last time we looked in the mirror and said, well, we're not doing? How do we own that? Out of that conversation, we started doing toy drafts for the community, turkey drafts for Thanksgiving for the community. We started a free store on campus. We started edible landscaping on campus. We started the Mon Valley Launchbox, which you see on the screen here, which is a business incubator. And we started to incubate businesses. I did a broker deal with the local mayor, said if you give us a space rent utility free, we'll start to build businesses back in the community. He said, let's do it. We were in a very rocky neighborhood. And so based on that, we used Penn State's billion-dollar resources, leveraged that to rebuild a community by starting businesses. And we did it all in a very community centric way, a very people-centric way. And so that gained momentum. We had community impact on. We started a series called A Taste of Jazz. We brought in a Grammy Award-winning artist, Daniel Witherspoon, and we started this. We had in the incubator, we had a commissary kitchen, and we had 3 restaurants running out of there. They were doing DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. And what we did was we featured that restaurant, did a tasting of their food over jazz music, and made it like a community event. And so we charged them $15 for entry, and the community would come in, get a tasting of their food with jazz music, and it was like, boom, like rockets went off, and the room was full of people. And so we started as a series. All of this started a relationship with the community. Then we started a series called Crossing Bridges, where we brought in Michael Eric Tyson, we brought in Angela Davis, and also with the Afro. I can't remember his name right now, but we brought in several speakers who talked about crossing bridges. Pittsburgh is a city of bridges. And so we brought in all these speakers to help with bridging these community relationships. So that's my professional career. But I'm nothing without my true call. And so I received the call to pastorate at the age of 30. And what I didn't know is all the things I was doing was servant leadership. I didn't know that at the time. And then all of a sudden, it all kind of came together. We could have an offline conversation about how I came to this point and received this call. But it was a great call, and I'm so excited about the way that my life kind of came together from a mission standpoint, a service standpoint, and a professional standpoint. When I was ordained, we started doing mission trips in South Africa. We did 5 mission trips, and we would go and we basically adopted an orphanage and took care of those children, as well as a senior care facility, and took care of that group. And so we would go buy the beds, paint the facility, get toy drives for them. We would do all kinds of stuff and go over to South Africa, all throughout Soweto and Cooktown and Durban, Port Elizabeth, and we just had a wonderful time throughout South Africa. Also, my church is Christ is All Inner City Ministries back home in Pittsburgh. Okay, so I want to talk about the dovetail. Where are we at with time?
You're fine. I'm something around 120. We're at 111. At 120 for Q&A.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. So the dovetail. What I realized is that who I am at the core. This is why you have to know yourself. I'm an augmenter. In other words, I raise the value of things. It's one thing to have something. It's another thing to take it to the next level. And I realized that that's the skill set of mine. Being able to take something or take nothing and make something, or take something and make it something else. And so being able to do that, I figured it out how ministry gave me a tenacity that was useful in the workplace. It gave me problem solving that was useful in the workplace. It gave me counseling skills that was useful in the workplace. It gave me negotiation skills that was useful in the workplace. And so my life became intertwined. It began to dovetail. And the things that I was doing in the world, I also was doing in the church. I was able to take fiscal strategies and apply them to help the church grow. And I also was able to take church strategies and help work community problems out for the university. And so since I was a kid, my dad taught me, I learned how to read at an early age, but my dad used to reinforce that by having me read chess books. And we would sit there and we would play chess, but I had to read the moves. Move rook, white rook to queen to Q11 to G11 or G8, and I had to read that. And it was boring to me at first until I started to understand strategy. And some of the strategy I learned as a little kid, I'm talking about 4 or 5 years old, it's still strategy I use today in multi-million-dollar deals. I got a chance, my math teacher, Miss Murphy, I got a chance to thank her before she passed about 2 years ago, because the arithmetic that I gained from her in 5th grade, I told her when I was at Penn State, I was running an $11 million budget. And I told her, I'm running an $11 million budget, doing payroll, doing expenses, you name it. Bursar, I was the bursar at Penn State at one point. I'm doing all this student accounting. And it's the math that you taught me. I didn't learn math outside of that. I can't think about geometry. I can't tell you. It was Miss Murphy's arithmetic that you're going to be surprised in life what you pull from. This is why you can't lose sight of every little thing is going to count at some point. You're going to realize at some point that things will come back. I got a chance to thank her, and it sent her into tears to know, 35 years later, this young man who was probably an irritant in her class was actually listening and actually running a university off the strategies and principles that she taught. And lastly, a connector, being able to bridge cultural divides. I have my team here in the room, Lydia Jung and Jennifer Flores. Lydia is Korean American, and Jennifer, of course, is Latino and Latina. And of course, I'm an African American man. We have an expanded team that are all contracted with us, and they are all diverse. They are all women, and they're all of diverse backgrounds. And so, what am I saying to you? I learned how to connect, how to put people in a position to win. And one thing we'll talk about at New You is how do you create triangular wins? A lot of times anybody heard of a win-win situation? Win-win. But I believe that win-win is bilateral. It's just you win, I win. It's transactional, right? But triangular win-win-win, that means it's cyclical. Because if you win, they win, we win, then I win, you win, we win, right? And so it becomes a cycle of winning. And so one of the things that we teach at New You is how do you create triangular wins? How do you strategically create triangular wins? And so it's one of the things that we never do about being a connector. Now I'm going to flip this from me to you, all right? I want to ask you some questions. They're going to be simple questions, but we're going to see how well you do, all right? What is the purpose of a pencil? Don't overthink it. Okay, to write. Good, very good. What's the pencil? What's the purpose of paper? Okay, to receive. Okay, love it. What is the purpose, here we go, of a bee? Good, pollinate. Good. Anybody know what, a lot of times people say honey. Anybody know what honey really is? Vomit. Yeah, bee vomit. Basically, they're vomit. Yeah. Yeah, You take the bee vomit and put it right on that pisser. And throw it right down your pisser. Yes, you do. Okay. What is the purpose of sand? Good. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's a use. But what's the purpose of it? And I wish I had time, I would break down the difference between a use, a purpose, misuse, and abuse. Abuse is really two words, abnormal use, right? I will break that down, but we ain't got time for that right now. What is the purpose of sand? Think about where it is. Sand is a border, right? So sand is a perimeter for water. It's a barrier. Sand protects earth from water. Right? Is that fair to say? All right. What is the purpose? Come on, click over. Here we go. Purpose of fish. Think about where they are. Food? Everything's food. That's a use. What's the purpose? Y'all weren't ready for this. You thought I was going to talk to you. Purpose of fish. Fish make water useful. Think about it. They clean the water. They when they move through the water, they bring energy to it, right? So if you take fish out of water, water can go stale, right? But not with a fish in it. Okay? So fish make water useful. It's the purpose of a barrier. Okay, bears are nature's best gardener. Bears and bees, right? Bears eat what? Berries, right? When they eat the berry, they also eat the seed. And then when they let the seed out, it's already in fertilizer, right? And so they plant bushes by processing berries. Berries help to make forests. Well, spaces, we'll say, right? So, have you considered your purpose? You can tell me the purpose of a phone and the purpose of a chair and the purpose of a table. Have you considered yours? All right? How are you functioning in your purpose? How are you exercising your purpose? How are you utilizing it for the good of something else? Because your purpose is never for your benefit. It's always for the benefit of something else. Right? My last question I'm going to ask you is, there we go. Do you know your purpose? What is your purpose? It's rhetorical. I want you to go home thinking about that. What I found out as I go through these takeaways is that purpose always prevails. Even when I was in situations when I should have been selected, and there were racist tactics that kept me from being selected, my purpose prevailed. Even when I was in situations where I was overqualified and they weren't willing to take my qualifications because of whatever reason they wanted to not take my qualifications, purpose prevailed. Your purpose will always prevail. This is why you have to own it. You have to know it. All right? Also, I want to tell you to trust your gut. When you get that feeling, trust it. You get that feeling for a reason. Some of the decisions you're going to make in life, if you don't have a peace about it, don't go with it. Don't go with it. You need to trust your gut. And when something says something just don't feel right, believe it. Believe it. Trust your gut. When you get into something and you say, you know what, this feels uncomfortable, but I feel good about it. Trust it. Don't quit because you're uncomfortable. That means you're being stretched. Trust your gut. Last one is, give yourself grace to grow. Don't quit because it got rough. There's a saying that, you know the difference between cows and buffalo? Cows run from the storm. Buffalo run to the storm. Buffalo runs to the storm, guess what? It gets through it quicker. When a cow runs from the storm, it stays in it. Give yourself grace to grow. Allow yourself some time. You're young. You're just getting off the ground. Don't be so hard on yourself. You ain't going to know everything. When you get that first real job, they don't expect you to know everything. I promise you that. I've hired many of young people. I don't expect you to know nothing. What I do want you to be is willing to learn. What I do want you to do is be respectful. What I do want you to do is be timely and to be appropriate. What I do want you to do is apply yourself. Take the risk. Take the chance. We can make a correction, but I don't want you to do a show and say, what do I do now? That ain't gonna work. Go back to McDonald's. They'll tell you something to do. Right? Give yourself grace to grow. All right? Questions? I'm way over. I'm sorry.
It's open to everyone in here, and then we'll go on Zoom and see if folks there have any questions.
Yeah, online, in the room, questions, comments, concerns. All right, got some quotes on here. Oh, yes, Cornell West. Thank you. Thank you. Cornell West. That's who the third speaker I was thinking of.
Do you have a question?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Can I connect with you on your page on LinkedIn?
Absolutely, yes. My LinkedIn is Aaron Wiggum. You go right on there. It's on the slides here. Also, follow us on New You. Yes, thank you. Right there. That's me. You can follow us on at New You Tulsa on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, New U Tulsa, N-E-W-U, the letter U, Tulsa. New U, let me just tell you about New U real quick. New U is a way for first talent to imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of yourself. And so what we do is we go through 6 weeks of vision casting, self-assessment, self-discovery, personal development, professional development, and life mapping. At the conclusion, you present these life maps to each other in a room full of ecosystem partners that can help that map become a reality. And so what we're doing is really helping you bring your future into focus. We want people to see your future better and then go after it. Questions, comments? Who can see your messages? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Very briefly,
Yeah.
we discussed that you might have a relationship with.
Yes, TCC.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure thing. We are in negotiations now. I had a great meeting yesterday with the Senior Education Department and some other individuals on campus around forming a partnership with TCC and having dedicated units, dedicated new cohorts at TCC. And so we're looking at probably launching that in April. There'll be more information coming soon. We're also going to do some master classes because we have it in English, we have it in Spanish, and we have it, so Jennifer here is our Spanish director. She runs all Spanish programming. She also does interpretation and translation. And Lydia here, she is our content strategist. So everything you see front-facing of New U, she's created it, except for the website. But everything else, all the social media, all this, anything you see that got New U on it, she did, including the logo. And she's fresh out of college. She's 18 months, almost 2 years. Almost 2 years out of TU. So she did your shirt, yes she did. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you so much for your time. Feel free to follow us, and if you have anything that you want to hit me up directly on, you have my LinkedIn. I do respond there. All right, thanks so much.
Well, I feel ready to go out in the rain now. We needed this, y'all. Before you walk away, come back. We have a little something for you. You know, it's not much, but we do want to thank you for your time and for carving out this space for us this afternoon. Another round of applause for Mr. William. Now, Mr. William is the first in this series for this spring. Next week we'll be at our Southeast campus, and we'll have Courtney McLean and Brandon Olam from the George Kaiser Family Foundation. And then we'll wrap up our series at the Metro campus on February 22nd with TCC students and filmmaker Pharrell Minor. So thank you all for coming. We have plenty of snacks in the back that we want y'all to take with you. Stay safe and happy Black History.